Hey guys, so today I want to show you guys another lesson from nature. And today we're going to be talking about a practical illustration of how the devil actually tries to steal our identity and give us a new identity that is totally not ours. Now, we're going to be using this moringa tree as a practical example. If you look at this moringa tree, you will see that there are other branches on this same moringa tree that is even beginning to bear fruit. You can see that this plant is literally struggling to even have space on its own. And this branch right here is attached to this moringa tree, and it is gradually changing the identity of this moringa tree to look like something else that it is not. At the time that this parasite has actually succeeded in taking over the whole moringa tree, now the moringa tree will no longer be a moringa tree, but then the parasites have actually overtaken the identity of this moringa tree that anybody that sees it would doubt that it is a moringa tree. So what is this teaching us? Most of us might be struggling with some characters that we do not identify with deep down in our soul. If you look at this moringa tree now, it is slowly shrinking. This parasite is taking almost all the nutrients that this moringa tree is supposed to be feeding itself to produce fruits, to produce its own leaves and all that. Is taking over. Most of us might have one addiction or the other, and this addiction might be taking a greater part of us, even sucking away our resources, sucking away our energy. You would look at your bank account, you know you're making a hell of money, but then you look at your bank account and then you are wondering what you did with money. And at the end of the day, you know that, oh, it is your addiction. Maybe it is your addiction that is actually taking the greater part of it. That is a parasite that has now attached itself to your consciousness, that has now attached itself to your habits and sucking all the vitality in your body, thereby changing your identity. You now see yourself now serving and being of much huge service to this particular character or to this particular addiction, even more than your own self. Now you're living for this character, just as this moringa tree now is gradually living to actually feed this parasite that is on top of it. Now you see yourself working for your working literally for your addiction, to feed your addiction. You find yourself spending more money into things that bring more harm to you, just as this parasite is bringing harm to actually this moringa tree, instead of things that actually elevate you. Instead of putting your money in things that would actually benefit you one way or the other, you find yourself spending more money on addiction. You find yourself spending more money on things that do not edify God, things that do not elevate your character. And at the end of the day, these things now will not start pushing you to be who you are not. That at the end of the day, you start acting out in characters that you wouldn't act on. On a normal day, you know that this is not in your character. You find, for example, those people now that are addicted to things that they cannot even control. Their appetite now, the devil has preyed on it as a parasite to actually control you. Instead of you controlling your appetite is not controlling you. You now find yourself stealing money. You now find yourself deceiving people. You now find yourself actually stealing money, selling your properties, becoming homeless because of an addiction. So this is me encouraging all of us today that nature is teaching us that most of the time we might not even know how this parasite actually attaches itself to us. And most of the time we cannot do it by our power. We need God. We need to pray about these things. We need the Holy Spirit to actually detach us from these parasites that might be in form of addiction, that might be in form of bad character, that might be in form of even things that we cannot even explain, even lying, things that would change our identity, that you know that you are not this kind of person, or you're actually a good person, or you wouldn't do this on a normal day, but your addiction, your circumstance has made people on the outside start seeing you as that girl, she cannot help being a nympho. That girl, she's an addict of crack. That girl, this and that and all of that. But you know that deep down, this is not in your character. So, guys, this is me reminding us today that do not let the devil steal your character. Do not let the devil steal your identity. Continue to struggle to keep your identity to yourself. That person that God sees you as, that is worthy of sending his only son to come and die for, that is your real character. That is your real identity. So do not let anything, addiction, character, circumstances steal your identity. So preserve your identity like your life depends on it, because your life actually depends on it. So, guys, I hope we learned a lot today. I hope you learned a lot today, and you know that nothing can change the identity and who God sees you as. And you should also try your best to pray to God. Employ the power of the Holy Spirit. Most of the time, it is not about our power. Most of the time, we cannot do it by ourselves. But with God, all things are possible. And it is not by saying what God cannot do does not exist. Actually pray about it. Actually ask God for forgiveness. Actually ask God for assistance. And you will see the change. Bye.